Hey everyone, it's Daphne and we are going to get started on page 2. So I'm going to do something a little different here. So I had originally gone through and constructed page 2 and thought I was videotaping, and apparently I was not. So I did page 2 through 7 and actually built the pages up and thought I was recording, and I was not. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then I'm going to build it again with some pink cardstock. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So with that, let me show you what we're doing. Okay, so we are going to have a small waterfall feature on the left-hand side of the page, and then we've got these 2 flaps on the right-hand side. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done, and there it is, all finished. And then also the last piece is underneath the waterfall, there's going to be a small pocket, and we're going to use that pocket to install a tag, and the tag is what's going to hold our waterfall in place. Okay. So now I'm going to bring in my bright pink paper and show you each one of the elements, and we'll build it together. And one of the reasons I'm using this pink cardstock is because I'm never going to use it for anything else. This predates all my mini album building, and I keep a bag full of these pages that I've designed over time, where I write down the sizes and I kind of do some test building. And I keep them all together, and they're all on pink cardstock. So when I'm feeling a little, I don't know, creatively challenged, I'll refer back to that bag and look at some of the pages that I've designed in the past and take some of those elements, or maybe even redo some of those pages just because I'm kind of stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and build these up. They won't go to waste, but they're not going to get used in our album. Okay, as you know, we're building an 8 by 10 or 10.5 by 8.5 mini album, and that means our base pocket page is going to be 10 by 8. So I went ahead and just created a sheet of 10 by 8. It's not a pocket because, like I said, I'm going to just use this as a reference page. It's not actually going to go in an album. And we are going to build it. So you're going to need a 5.5 by 8, and that's 5.5 wide by 8 inches tall. And then you're also going to need a 6 by 8, so 6 inches across and 8 inches tall. And we are going to use these 2 features right here. They're going to get attached, and I have to think about this. Yes, this way. So we're going to attach these large flaps to the spine side of page 2, and there's my S to indicate that that's the spine. If it were being installed, it would be installed here, and then I'd have a pocket insert over here. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sit down. So what I like to do is, I have to think this through. It's actually going to get installed like this. So the large, I wrote these upside down. The 6 by 8 is going to get installed on the very outside of the page. And then I'm going to add the 5 by 8 on the other side of it. And then once I show you that, then we will get back to actually decorating the page, the real page, with the designer papers. Okay, I'm just adhering it to the very edge. There we go. So that's like that. So now the way I want this to fit together is I want it to close, and then they're going to have a 1/2 inch exposed here. But I want to make sure that when I lay down this flap that it's far enough over that this will close first. And so the way I do that is I'm going to take my backing off. I'm going to open this flap. I'm going to lay this over just like so. I'm just going to make sure it's up and down right, so it's level on both ends. And then I'm going to close it and let it find its location. Just like so. So that way you know when you close it, it's going to close flat for you. Okay? So that's how I locate the location for the 5.5 by 8 flap. Okay, now on this side, we are going to have a waterfall feature. And I'm going to go ahead and install these. However, if you're building the album, you're going to want to stop right here and set this waterfall aside. Like I've done here, my waterfall is loose and these flaps are installed. I'm setting this aside because I want to put a piece of designer paper down before I add my waterfall, okay? So you're going to stop right here and install your waterfall after we put our designer paper in. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and today I'm going to continue working on the Birdsong album, and we are now on page 2. So let me get my page 2. Here we go. Elements out, and we will get started. Okay, as you remember from the build, we do have a waterfall feature on this one. And I'm just going to set that aside. And then I decided that I'm going to use the graphic 45 tag. So I had to open a pack. I'm using 2 on page 1, 2 on page 8, 1 on page 2, and we're going to use the other one on page 7 to actually hold the waterfall feature together. But right now, let's focus on getting the flap covered. So I chose this, which is off of the signature page of the collection, which I really like. So on the other side is a geisha girl. I think it's a geisha girl. And this was the birds, and then just above it said Birdsong. So I trimmed it out so it's on the extreme right-hand side of the paper. And I really like the way that looked. So I don't think I inked these. I haven't. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that and get it down. I just noticed that I had left my cap unscrewed from the last time I was in here, so I might have some trouble getting my flow started. Actually, it looks okay. All right, with that, I'm going to sit down and get started. First ink. Here we go. And I'm using Powder Puff in Mahogany. All right, I've got a contrast sheet out, and it's going to go right here, just so I can see these edges. So we are going to hold this flap, there's 2 flaps actually, closed with a magnet, and I didn't do that on the install, but we are going to apply a magnet to the reverse side of this flap before we put in our designer paper. And that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now while I'm thinking about it. So we're going to have a magnet on this side, and then we're going to put the joining magnet here. There we go. All right, let's burnish those into place real quick. Okay, good. All right, so that's in. So the next thing is I've got these 2, sorry, I'm all thumbs. These 2 strips with these butterflies. One is going to go here, and one is actually going to go on the very edge of the second page. So we get this frame around this image, which I really like. And I didn't get a clean cut here, so I'm going to just trim off that little bit of white paper. It looks like it tore in the trimmer. And get some ink on these 2 things. These are a 1/2 inch wide. And that just happens to be the distance between the edge of this flap and the edge of the page is 1/2 inch. And so that's where I came up with that. Actually, I'm rethinking this. I think I might just put a solid piece here. I got to think about that for a minute, but I'm definitely going to use this trim piece here. And then I will lay in a piece of coordinating, a color block here. There we go. And I think I'm looking at my scraps. I think I have a big enough piece to do this butterfly the whole way. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to trim that out really quick while you guys are with me. Actually, let's see what this is. 4.5. I was going to do some color blocking, but I just changed my mind. A lot of times that depends on how much I have left over of a particular pattern, and I have plenty of this. So I can just do a solid. 4.5 by 7 7/8. That's what it's going to work out to be. Yeah. Okay, so now I just need to take a sliver off here. So I'm gonna test this. This is 4 3/8, and it looks like I need to take a little bit more off on the edge down here. It doesn't look like it's going to go quite straight in. So okay, I'm going to take a little more off. Okay, that looks good. So I am going to ink it and we'll lay it down. And then we can lay down our waterfall. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so this is going to open left, right, and then we've got our waterfalls here. So I've got them all trimmed out, so let's go ahead and lay them down. So my plan is to lay it as far over as possible because I want to have that little strip revealed, which is a 1/2 inch to match on the other side. So I'm going to turn this upside down, and we are going to install this flap flush with the corner here. And you don't have to pull the paper all the way up at it, but I wanted this trim to go all the way the length. So all you really would have saved here is 2 inches because each one of these hinges is a 1/2 inch. So that's, you know, what you would have wound up saving if you had trimmed it to start after the waterfall feature. So not much of a savings, a scrap too small to really use anywhere else. I made a modification on this page to the pocket that's going to hold the tag to keep it closed. and that modification is reflected in the cut list, so the cut list is correct, but you're gonna change the pocket, or at least I wanted to change it. You don't have to, you can go with the original, what I say in the build video, but I decided that I wanted the full depth of the pocket, and because I want the full depth of the pocket, I added a flange to the bottom so that there's a flange on all 3 sides. If you just glue the bottom, you lose some of the depth of the pocket, and I'll show you what I mean right now. So I had decided to go with a flange around all 3 sides. So in the original build, I only did a flange on each side and not here, and I was going to run a glue strip, which would mean that you lose, you know, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch of the bottom of the pocket. And because I decided to use this tag and it's so tall, I wanted the full width. I didn't want to give up, you know, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch on the bottom of the pocket. So the measurements for this are 5 by 2.5, 5 by 2.5. And then you're going to score a 1/2 inch on 3 of the 4 sides. And then this is going to go in and hold everything together like so. Okay. So 5 by 2.5. It could actually, it looks like it could be even almost 3 inches tall if you wanted to have a deeper pocket. Let's see, do I want to have a deeper pocket? What difference would it make? Not a whole lot. As long as the pocket clears the lowest waterfall feature, it's fine, so that you can get this into the pocket. So you could add another 1/2 inch if you want. I'm going to leave it as is at 5 by 2.5. Okay, and I'm just putting it flush to these 2 edges. And there we go. That is in. There we go. I wasn't going all the way down at first. It's in now. Okay, so next we need to start laying in the paper for the waterfall. Get our tag covered. And then of course we have these 3 large spaces to cover. Okay, so you get a gist of what the cover of page 2 is starting to come together for us. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping. So this is the strip I decided not to use. I'm going to set it aside because I may use it as a decorative strip someplace else, like on the tag. I don't know, but I'll come back to that. All right. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, let's continue working on page 2. I went away and I inked my mats for the waterfall and my mat for the pocket. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to cover the tag with, but I know what I'm doing here, at least on the top sides of these. So let's go ahead and lay them in. And I'll start with the pocket since it's sitting here. It's trimmed and ready to go. Wow, I got really heavy on the glue there. Sorry about that. Get that cleaned up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I am using this pattern on page 3, so I'm definitely going to want to incorporate it on this side. So I have decided to put it on my waterfall. And I'm going to alternate 2 patterns. for the waterfall. You don't have to. That's what I decided to do. I wanted to try to pull or pick up more of the blue, turquoise blue here. So I'm using this pattern, and then the blue stripes is what we'll go, I'll alternate with. And if you recall, we're going to hold all this closed with that tag, so we don't need any magnets here, which makes it nice and simple. Okay, and then you can do either orientation. I decided to go lengthwise, kind of pick up on this fishtail ribbon piece here, but it's really up to you. And I like to lay everything in one more time just to dry fit, just to make sure that it's looks like it fits just right, because that's your last chance to trim before you glue it down. There we go. I'm liking the way that looks. I still need to cover my tag, so I'm trying to think about what pattern I want to use here. I think I want to use something kind of simple. To me, this is too strong. These two together, plus it's just too strong this way. So I'm going to need a minute, and I'll be back after I make a decision. Okay, I found this scrap, and it's actually the bottom part of this page that I had trimmed out, and I just love these flowers so much, and I think that looks really nice together, but it wasn't quite big enough for my tag. So I am going to apply this to the top half, and fortunately when I stick it in the pocket, it's going to cover the bottom half, but I am going to color block something else down here, but I don't know what. I think I might just do this red so it's the same as the pocket, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down. So there's the flip side of it. It's the dragon page, which is this one. But I can't get enough of these flowers. So I think I've used every single piece that I've trimmed off so far. I just really love it. And color blocked on the bottom half of the tag will look nice, I think. So I'm going to come back and cover the bottom of that at some other point, because I just want to keep moving forward as we're kind of on a roll here. Let me do a little housekeeping. I'm going to go ahead and put the tag in so you get an idea of what it's going to look like. It's actually getting hung up. getting hung up on the flange. So one of the things that you can do, there goes, it went in. One of the things that you can do is, if you notice when you do your 1/2" hinge score lines, like here, the tape, when you lay the tape down, there's still just a little bit left open. So if it's a pocket, sometimes when you put things in, it wants to get behind it. So a way to get around that is to also put down a bead of glue, and that way the whole flange will be stuck down. And I should have done that, and I usually do that when it's a pocket. If it's not a pocket, I don't care, because I'm going to put a mat right over top of this so nothing's ever going to get stuck. It's only when it's a pocket that becomes an issue. So there is the end of page 2, or at least the top, the A sides of page 2. We still need to lay down some color blocking on the inside here, and then we also need to cover the flip side of the waterfall. But I'm going to take a break right now and get organized, come back, and we'll do the rest of that. All right, so I've got the rest of the B-side papers all trimmed out, and I actually dry fit and ink the edges, so this will go pretty quickly. So we're going to start by doing the B-side of the waterfall, and then we'll do the inside large flaps. Okay, so for the waterfall, I chose to repeat the pattern that's just beneath the waterfall feature itself, and there's also a trim piece over here. So I went ahead and just trimmed out 4 of these. And I may have said the wrong thing, but this is page 2. Yeah, page 2. I can't remember what I said, but we're on page 2. Okay, these are directional, so make sure you're paying attention to the orientation of your butterfly. And here's the last one. This is a really pretty print, but it just, I don't know, I was really having a hard time using it with, you know, these pictures that look kind of realistic, and then there's this and it looks a little, I don't know, animated or stylized. So I really struggled with it. So I don't think I actually used the umbrellas anywhere. I do think I am going to come out and trim out and fussy cut a couple of them to use as accents, but I don't think I'm actually going to wind up using that print in the album. And like I said, I like it, it's pretty, it just doesn't seem to go with this kind of realistic looking, you know, rustic looking stuff. It just didn't seem to match to me. So you guys will have to let me know what you think and how you're using it in your albums. Okay, as you recall, I am in love with this pattern, and I had limited amounts of it because it came from the cover sheet and it was really just in one corner. So I only had, it was actually the bottom part of the sheet, enough to do about 2/3 of it. So this is what I've trimmed out to go on the bottom half of this tag. And you really don't have to do anything. You could just leave that black for journaling with your gel pen. So, but I decided to go ahead and cover it. And the way I did it was I just ran this through the bottom half of the die. You can actually just trim it rectangular and then use your corner rounder. Either way will work. But I had the die, so I went ahead and used it. Okay, now that's gonna go inside. this pocket. And if you'll recall, on page 7, I glued down the tab and it makes the tag easier to slide in. This one I had to work it in a little bit. It goes in, but I have to work with it a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to do the B side of all these flaps. Here we go. So here's what I have designed for the interior. I think I'm going to start by putting down the center piece. And I'm just double checking it looks good. It seemed like it was just a little big, so I trimmed just a smidge off. Not much. Okay, got it inked. This was the other pattern that didn't quite seem, it's like, that just doesn't work together for me. So I do think I'm gonna fussy cut some of these elements and use them as embellishments too. I think the balloon itself works, it's just the whole collage of it, it's just too much. Right, now this is I'm going to take the tag out so this will lay a little flatter as I try to install it, and it looks perfect. Checking for orientation, make sure your butterflies are going up. I'm going to turn this sideways so I can get a better look at the edge. I'm actually going to burnish it this way since it's so bumpy on the other side. Okay, and here's our last piece for the inside, and then we've got one more for the flip side of this. Looks good. So we've gotten a couple new subscribers, and I want to welcome everybody to our channel. And I just want to say, you know, a lot of people ask about, you know, do we charge for our tutorials? And no, we don't. We don't charge for our tutorials. And if we post them on this channel, they will remain on this channel. We have no intentions of taking anything down. So if you start a project, you'll be able to finish it. The tutorial will remain online, you know, and I can say that we won't voluntarily take it down. If something happens with YouTube, that's different, but we will not voluntarily remove any of our tutorials. So again, if you start a project, you'll be able to finish it. Also, if you're new to the channel, we organize our projects, and a project is a mini album for us, or something start to finish. And so the tutorials are going to be in what are called playlists. So for this one, it's going to be Birdsong. And if you go to the Birdsong playlist, you will find all of the tutorials required to make this album, including the base album, the black cardstock pieces that you see here. And it starts with a walkthrough, which is the finished project, so you can see what it is. The next video will be the basic build of the album. So in this case, it's a 8.5 by 10.5 mini album. And then moving forward, each of the tutorials following that will cover the adding of any interactive components to the pages, and the designer layers. So it's all of them are organized that way. And the title of the playlist corresponds to the title of the paper release. So if you look, you'll see like there's Fashion Forward Graphic 45. We've got Stamperia projects. We've got some Ciao Bella projects and a lot of Graphic 45. That's kind of an anchor product for us. So the reason I can bring you all these tutorials is because we have a shop, www.scrapandcreate.com, and so I use paper out of our shop and consider this to be promotion for the shop. So that's why I have all these, you know, all the paper to work with. And that's why we offer it for free, in hopes that you guys will take a moment and go check out our store and consider buying from us. It's not a requirement, but we really appreciate people taking a look and shopping with us if they can. We only ship to the United States. The complexities of shipping out of state and the cost of shipping itself is just prohibitive. We're a very small shop. It's just 2 of us. I do the website and the creative and marketing pieces, and then procurement, finance, and all that is run by Julie. She's our business lead. And so that's just it. Like I said, it's just the 2 of us. So we can't really do much more than what we're doing now, volume-wise. And certainly not outside of the United States. The cost of shipping is just horrific. It's very expensive even for us to just ship to the other coast. We're here on, we're right smack on the very west side of the United States in San Diego, California. So even we do ship to Florida and all the continuous states, including Hawaii, but it is a little bit more expensive for us to ship that direction. So that's just a little bit about our shop. Oh, and one more thing. If you are looking at this video, right underneath the video box, there is a show more under the description. If you click the show more, you'll find the cut list for this album. The cut list includes the base album as well as the flaps that you see here. It does not include the cut for the designer papers. I do not include that, and that's because people like different borders. So I like a 1/16 inch border. If you like an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch, your designer paper is going to be different. So I do not include that, but you will get the base black album and any interactive features. All these will be included in the cut list. Okay, and that's how we organize and run this channel. I do my best to respond to any comments or questions within a few days. There's times when that gets away from me, but I do my best. So if you have a question, or if you see an inconsistency in the cut list between the banners that are run in the video and the cut list, let me know, because I will correct. I can't correct the banner without re-releasing the video, but I can change the cut list very easily if that's where the error is found. And then other viewers will get the benefit of you pointing that out, and I really appreciate it too. So as much I try, but sometimes when you look at your own work, you just look right over something that you think, you know, you have an expectation, so you see what you want to see. Okay, well, that's the end of 2. I'll be back and we'll start working on 3.